if we think about it as a tool that is for our uses, but not to dictate to us how to live, then I think we're better off. And that starts with education. I could go really deep into how the education starts and who's responsible and the policies that have to be involved with that. There's a lot that goes into that. But the education piece is super, super important, and people just aren't getting it.
So in the absence of a responsible education system, where I think education should start at home, not in a school, how does one, as a parent or as a leader of a team, right, if we're talking about a professional environment, how does that person who's responsible for other people educate them, whether it's a child or an employee, to use these tools but not lose themselves in the process?
You hit on something at the very beginning of your question, which is most people, when they think about the word education, they think about school. It's synonymous with school. For me, like, I'm learning something all the time. I'm being educated all the time, right? In long-term, long tail sorts of things, like, hey, what do you do with your money? Oh my gosh, watch the markets. I'm educating myself based on that, all the way to, like, I'm driving down the road, that person is acting in a very strange way with their car. They're going to cause an accident. I'm learning that I need to go around them and get them behind me, right? And so we're educating ourselves all the time. My kids are looking at me to model behaviors. If I'm blindly saying to my child, my son that I was just referencing, like, hey, it turns out, like, yeah, there's a lot of work that you need to do on that essay. Let's just throw it through Gemini and have it fix it. That's easy. I've got the Gemini Pro subscription. Like, I can get it to do anything. If I model the fact that, like, there's an easy way out, and that easy way out, by the way, strips your voice, it oftentimes can cause errors, which I can give a lot of examples of that. I'm sure we've all experienced that. And it shows, like, a lack of cognitive responsibility. It shows that if I'm not modeling that, then I'm not teaching. It's the same thing within a job, right? Like, hey, I'm not going to sit here and say, that my developers can't use Claude to help them along the way of developing. I mean, there's so much value to those tools. But I surely, when I go through a quality control check, I want to know where they used it, how they used it, why they used it that way, what is it that they found, was helpful, but also where they had to adjust. Because I want them to be thinking about the fact that it's not as simple as, like, and you and I were chatting the first time we talked about vibe coding, right? Like, yeah, that's really cool. Like, I can build lots of things, but if I'm going to, like, scale something to an enterprise level, I'm not going to do it vibe coding, because there's a lot of other things that are required in different parts of that system to make it robust, to make it so it doesn't break, and to make it ethical and all those sorts of things. So I can, again, model to my team and say, hey, use it, use the tools. That's awesome. Use what we have. We'd be dumb not to, but let's walk through how. How did you use it? And not because I'm looking to say, gotcha, you're wrong, but instead, along the way, we might figure out, heck, we can use it for something else, right? We can learn along the way while also maintaining control and cognizance over how it's being used. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. So what is your company actually seeking to do with behavioral science and change and all of that?
Yeah. So I started my company is named Lotic, and so LOTIC, and I started the company in 2020. I actually put in the paperwork in January of 2020, and Delaware and the state of Texas and all these wonderful states got back to me in April. And so a lot had changed between January and April of 2020. And I set out with the following goals. One was, I thought technology was upside down. And I say that in kind of a flippant way. Large technology companies clearly were making a ton of money based on our data. And I wasn't necessarily seeing that individuals benefited from that. They, might benefit based on a convenience. They might, but it was good for me as the 77th percentile of men my age with 3 kids living in Austin, Texas, blah, 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 right? But it wasn't good for me. And so how could we make it so that these tools could be far more personalized? How could we democratize these tools to an individual level? So that was test number one. So instead of top down use of technology, let's use it bottom up. And it turns out, I was running with the conceit that there's more than enough data at the individual level to run these very, very powerful algorithms. I don't need to commingle my data with yours just so I can run those out. Point number two was I didn't see a ton of ethics. I didn't see a ton of privacy. I didn't see a ton of security. And like, if you want to enable somebody to learn a lot more about themselves, you're going to have to engage them in ways where you're drawing out far more personal information than they might normally be comfortable sharing.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this insight, I've handpicked another video for you right here on the screen. For more actionable strategies that get you real results, hit subscribe.